Good afternoon, Coolest Coast. Did not mean to fool you with that intro. This is Coffee on the Coast, an episode of Book Banter. Good afternoon, Coolest Coast. Welcome to this episode of Coffee on the Coast, Book Banter. That means joining us is Librarian Laura Schreiner from the Manitowoc Public Library. Hi, Laura.
Hello, Tina.
I'm trying to contain the enthusiasm, but I don't think it's working. I'm so excited to talk about books with you.
I am too. I'm so excited. I really look forward to this. I used to be so afraid to do this. And
Oh,
I still think I'm going to blow it really badly, but I so much look forward to speaking with you. I don't really care so much anymore.
oh,
It's
awesome.
worth it. It's a risk worth taking.
Well, you've got a number of books for us to talk about
We
today.
do.
And I was wondering if we could start with James.
Sure. Of course we
So,
can. Yeah.
James, I haven't had a chance to talk with anyone else who's
Okay.
read it. And I felt
Okay.
like it was such an important book. Like,
Agreed.
I keep thinking about this book.
Yeah. So
So,
tell me, first of all, could I ask you, have you read Huck Finn? Because I've not.
I did, but in
Okay.
grade school,
Yeah.
right? So
So
it's
it's a
not, I
while.
didn't
Yeah.
revisit it. I only know
Right.
the sort of
Right.
very topical
Right.
things pop culture knows about it.
Sure, sure. Yeah. So we did a book discussion here last Thursday night at the library. We had 15 people come in and talk about it. It was great. A lot of our regular attendees, a few new people, kind of a mixed bag of responses. Most people really liked it. Most people thought it deserved the Pulitzer, but not everyone. Not everyone thought that. A few people thought it was kind of a bold move to take on a classic and rewrite it. Like that's a little bit not arrogant, but it's pretty confident to do that, to have the confidence to take something on like that. Um, I liked it. I've not read Huck Finn. And I also have to say, I listened to it. And as my office mate Margot has said, it was such a remarkable listen. Did you read?
I read it.
If you ever want to listen to an excellent reader with a super wonderful voice, oh my gosh, this would be the book. Really, really
Interesting.
good. Yeah, really good.
Okay. So what did you like about it? I mean, I also think so. Yes, I read Huck Finn a long, long time ago, but
Right.
I don't think that's any kind of prerequisite for
I don't
enjoying
think
this
so.
book.
I don't think so. We're having some book groups who've read one first and then the other. A lot of people have read Huck Finn, but not everybody. By no means had everyone at, say, our book discussion read it. Only a few people had read it. As I said, I'm not one of them.
Do you think it will inspire people
I
to
think
read?
it's inspired me, definitely. I can tell you that. And I think others as well. Yeah. I liked it. I thought it was pretty remarkable. Boy, is it thought provoking. Just wow, heart wrenching. Funny at times, a lot of irony there. But wow,
Yeah,
kind of rings you out emotionally. Yeah.
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 That's a great way to describe
Yeah.
it.
Yeah. It really does. Did you have a moment or a character, or can I ask you, is there anything that didn't ring true for you? Because there was a moment or two when people thought, I don't know if that's authentic. Did you have any of that with the book?
I mean, I kind of thought that a little bit about the language choices.
Okay. Okay.
And I wasn't sure, and it made me wonder, like, if there's any any historical fact behind that, right? Where
Right. Right.
the language just was affected for, for the masters, if you will. But like,
I can.
aside from that, they had, really
Right.
like that kind of surprised me. And so I wasn't sure if
Right.
that was
Right.
truthful, but
Right.
like the powerfulness of this story, and I think the
Right.
importance of knowing
Yes.
that point of view.
Definitely. Definitely. And he's human. He's not just fill in the blank, just a whatever. He was a human being, an intelligent human being with real feelings, real passions, the desire to have a better life for his family. Can you imagine having your family torn away from you? I mean, and we've heard that story, unfortunately, so many times, but I thought this one really brought that home. His wife and daughter aren't there when he gets back. And I don't think I'm doing any big time, spoiler there, but it's like he's striving to get there and then they're not there. I mean, what in the world? What would that feel like?
Yeah, it really highlights some of the, I don't know, ridiculous choices we make as a society by some of the
Yes. Yeah.
rules that we
Yeah.
employ or
Right.
try to like lay out on others. Like, why would
Right.
we do this to ourselves?
I don't know. There was one part I really loved and it stuck in my head, but I wasn't reading, so I don't know exactly where in the book it happened because I was listening. At one point, he is kind of proud of himself because he feels like he can just hold a book and nobody really knows he can read it. So he's really kind of pulling one over them because they think, oh, look at that dumb person just looking at letters. He doesn't know what any of that means or anything. And he, meanwhile, is absorbing philosophy and economics and all sorts of stuff, learning all this stuff. And they think he's just looking at a bunch of squiggles that he can't read anyway. So he says at one point, reading is subversive. And I'm like, I've heard that in other contexts too. And I thought, even back then, and I know, he's fictional, but think about no one knows what you're getting out of your reading. Whatever you're reading, wherever you're reading it, no one knows what you're taking from that. I saw someone at a doctor's office earlier this week reading a book that we've talked about and liked. I won't say which one, but she was reading it. I didn't, Tina. I didn't. I held myself together, but I almost wanted to go up to her. And she's a stranger. I just wanted to. You love that book? I really love that book, but I think that's just weird. Don't do that. So I didn't do it. But what is she getting from it? What did you get from it? What did I get from it? Everybody takes what they need, what their experience leads them to, whatever leads them to connect with somebody or think about it or reflect on it. That's the cool thing about reading. You can see the words, but they mean something totally different to two different people. Maybe not. We don't know.
That's such a powerful and good, important point, I think, to reflect on, is that the reading experience is never the same for two different people.
And it isn't the same at different points in your life, maybe.
Yeah, right. Like if I read the book again, would I have the same takeaways? Would it hit me the same way?
Maybe not. To Kill a Mockingbird hit me very differently decades apart. Or fill in any other title there too that you've read at different phases in your life. Your life is different. It can't help but be different. Everyone's life is different.
Yeah, and the more life experience you have too, the more you have to draw on to interpret what you're reading.
Exactly. So it's not the same book. Maybe 2 months later, it's not the same book. That's one of the beautiful things about it. But it's your imagination. It exists in your imagination. You're picturing what you're picturing. You're feeling what you're feeling. It's great for your imagination. It's great for developing empathy. We've said that before. How else do you develop empathy? You'll never know what it's like to be that person, but you might get some insight from reading. Now, you can do that by watching a movie too, don't get me wrong. But I don't know, nothing like a book.
Yeah, and how else could you imagine some of these situations that characters find them in and how they work through them? I just wanted to read on the back of the book, Ann Patchett has a promo blurb, and she said, James is funny and horrifying, brilliant and riveting. In telling the story of Jim instead of Huckleberry Finn, Percival Everett delivers a powerful, necessary corrective to both literature and history. I found myself cheering both the writer and his hero. Who should read this book? Every single person in the country.
I would agree. And I also want to go to her bookstore in Nashville. She has a bookstore called Parnassus Books. I really want to go to her bookstore, Ann Patchett.
Oh, I've read a number of her books and I've liked them. I didn't know she had her own bookstore.
Yeah, so that's kind of cool.
Yeah, very cool.
Okay, she's wonderful. Yeah.
So I realized I didn't have this up. So this is James by Percival Everett, Pulitzer Prize winner, a retelling, a different take from a different character perspective of the Huckleberry Finn tale.
Definitely, yeah. Great read, just great, yeah.
Okay, so then I'm intrigued by this. In Stitches, Dr. Anthony Youn.
So I read this when it first came out. It came out in 2012. It's old. I think he was kind of coming into his own as a plastic surgeon of some note nationwide as he's releasing this book. I didn't know any of this. I was reading it. I thought it looked kind of fun. I have to tell you, I don't really know why those things are on the cover, except that he's a plastic surgeon. So I get the kind of broken body. I don't know what that lollipop is. I've read it again and I still missed it. If it's in there, I'm not sure why it's in there, but it's funny. It is. There's heart, there's humor. They talk in terms of Scrubs meeting David Sedaris. He is really, really witty. Dr. Youn is really, really witty, funny, smart, very self-deprecating, wry observer of things, Korean American kid growing up in Michigan. Dad's an OBGYN, will not entertain that his son, he wants both his sons to be doctors because he thinks, he had this term, doctor never get fired. He kind of quotes the way his dad spoke, although he was super, super intelligent. His command of English is a little fuzzy at times. So some of his phrasing is kind of weird. And there were certain types of doctors he wanted them to be, not a pediatrician. He said, like, little people, little dollar. Those weren't the big family physician. No, not that. You want to be like a specialist. But it took a while for Anthony to come to the specialty. And it kind of began because he was, his jaw was developing really fast, faster than the rest of his face. So he needed plastic surgery as a teenager. And that kind of lit the fire for him. Medical school was never an option not to go to medical school. He was just being told by the Korean dad, you will go to, daddy wants you to go to medical school. You go to medical school. Okay, I'm going to medical school. He was also supposed to marry a Korean girl, which he didn't, but that worked out okay. But he developed a love for this specialty of plastic surgery. Since then, he's been on like the Oprah show. He's been on Good Morning America. I didn't know any of this stuff. He's really quite well known, but now he's kind of actually gotten away from surgery. He's gotten more into holistic kind of things. He's got a very, very well-developed website. He's more than just a writer, but this is a really funny memoir. It's very, very funny.
Okay, so this is a memoir. So it's
a memoir of his years going through med school. Yeah.
Essentially nonfiction then.
Yeah, absolutely nonfiction. It's with our 921s with the biographies. It's really, really well done. I think he's very relatable. Another thing, remember, people want spice from us or spicy sorts of things.
Oh, yes.
So a little bit, when he's going through med school, undergrad med school, he's looking for a lady. He's having a little trouble finding a lady, and he goes to some lengths to find himself some female companionship. Now, it's never off color. It's never graphic, but he's really trying to find a girlfriend. I mean, he's trying really, really hard, and it's really funny because he gets shot down so many times in so many ways. It just keeps trying. God bless him. He just kept trying, but he's funny. He's earnest. He's got a huge heart. He had a life-changing moment when he was helping a baby. His first plastic surgery rotation. It was a horrific thing that happened to this poor child. I won't even go into it. It's too awful, but he develops this huge heart. I mean, I like this man. Like, you can't read this book and not want to know him. He seems so approachable and down to earth, brilliant, funny. That doesn't always go together. Self-deprecating, those things don't always go together. I've read a decent amount of biographies. I've never forgotten this one. And this is 12, 13 years ago that I read it. I think it's that memorable. And it's not just the cover, it's the content.
I'm really glad to hear that, because I kind of thought at first maybe you chose the cover with the doll body for our spice.
Not at all. Not at all. No, not at all. But he is just, it's laugh out loud funny in most cases. Like, he's so self-deprecating, especially the first time he's helping people with procedures, and they're like, okay, you're going to do this. His mentor or whatever tells him as an intern, you're going to do this, and he's looking around like, I'm doing this? I don't know what I'm doing, and you expect me to do this, but you can't say that in front of the patient, of course. You have to have the confidence. But if I make a mistake, this awful thing could happen to this baby or to this person. But I think he grows so much as a person. And like I said, he does find a lady, but he surely had a lot of practice looking for the lady. And again, that's my concession to spice a little bit. That's about as spicy as I think we're going to get today. So, yeah.
What makes you keep turning the pages in a memoir, like in this particular memoir?
I think, you want to see what happens, even if you kind of know how it ends, because, if you know anything about him, he prevailed. Of course, he graduated. He's got this illustrious career. But it wasn't easy. The things he had to do to get there, what he had to buck some of his dad's things. Mom was very, very caring. Dad cared in his own way, but was kind of distant and had lots of expectations. I think a lot of us can relate to some of those things, there's 2 Korean American kids in the city he grows up in Michigan. Well, his brother and him, and then there's one other family that moves in. It's like he doesn't look like everybody else. He's trying to fit in. Then he refers to wearing Coke bottle glasses and Hannibal Lecter headgear, which I wore headgear as a kid too. When you had braces and that thing came over your head, that head, maybe you're too young, but it was awful, to move your jaw. And I had to wear it out in public because I had to wear it, it wasn't going to work. It was terrible. I guess it did look like Hannibal Lecter, but he wasn't around yet, so I didn't know that. He was terrible. I could relate to that, and then, but like I said, then this jaw started growing beyond what they could correct with appliances. He had to have surgery.
Wow.
So then I think he started to realize, and then it was reinforced, that plastic surgery really can change your life. It's not necessarily just about starlets enhancing certain things. It's about, it can be what makes your life good again, And I think he says these things so beautifully, but just in an approachable way, not in this academic way. You like him. You're rooting for him, I
love it. Well, you mentioned the cover and not knowing the reference of the lollipop.
I totally get it.
When I looked the book up, it had a totally different cover.
Yes, there's a different cover. This is the original edition. In fact, our copies, it's a little bit draggled, to be honest. Yeah, it's been re-released with a totally different cover. Yeah. So I really don't know how that went. And it's not, unfortunately, on Libby. I looked on Libby. It's not there. Because I think that would be a really fun thing to listen to if that option where I don't think it's an Audible thing, but it's a great read. It's
Hmm.
it's kind of a lighthearted biography, and it's not very long. As biographies go, I think it's well under 300 pages. It's really good. I would recommend to just about anybody.
Excellent. Okay. And so is he still around? Do you know, is he still
He is. He
practicing?
seems to be still around, and he's kind of like the Hollywood guy. I don't really watch like daytime talk shows, but I think he's still making those kind of rounds, and
Oh,
he's a presence. Yeah.
oh, cool. Okay. Awesome. Well, shifting gears
Yes,
completely, tell
completely.
us about Grave Danger by James Grippando. And I understand this is like one of a series. Is
This
that
is
right?
number 19 in a series. The protagonist is Jack Switek. He's an attorney in Florida. His dad is the former governor of Florida. He's married to an FBI agent. So it gets really in this one, and I've read most of them. Not always, I've read them out of sequence. You can read them out of sequence. They don't have to be in sequence.
Okay.
So he meets up with this FBI agent and marries her. But in this episode, their marriage is really being tested because they're on different sides of a really important case, international kind of case, dealing with Iran. And there's a lot of backstory there. It's a child custody issue centered in Iran. The child's aunt has kidnapped her from the father. There's a lot of espionage. There's a lot of backstory that he's been encouraged to drop this because there's some deep, dark secret there that's going to cause international relations crises if it comes out. His wife is being pressured to get him to drop the case. They are talking about separation. They have a little girl the same age as this child that's in the custody situation. And they're both really likable career people, he and his wife, but you can kind of see where they're both coming from because they're both very passionate. He's generally a criminal defense lawyer. She's an FBI agent. So there's always that tension with them, but it's witty. He's always witty. He's decent. I always think of him a lot. Grippando is very much to me like Grisham, but like the undiscovered. Well, not completely undiscovered. He's known, but he's not the household name. I think he should be. He's every bit as good as Grisham. He writes really well.
Yeah, I had never heard his name before.
No,
And
lots of people
when it
haven't.
said it was the 19th in a series, I was like, oh,
Where have I
what?
been?
Yeah,
Where have I been?
exactly.
Yeah, the first one goes back to 1994, and it was called The Pardon. So I just kind of came to him by accident too, because I was looking for a Grisham, and he's on the shelf near enough to Grisham, and I'm looking at this lineup. I'm like, who's this guy? So I just grabbed one. I forget which one I even read first, and really good. He takes on a lot of causes too, like some racial things, school shooting, things like that. He does tend to do some of what Grisham does, which is kind of take on a cause and speak his piece in his way. Not necessarily beat you over the head, but take on the morals and ethics of a lot of things that he sees. And he's got a voice. He's got a platform now. He's, like I said, he's not Christian, but he's somewhat well known, and he deserves to be, I think, much more well known. This is just the latest in the series. There is a new one coming out in 26 as well. So he puts one out about every year ish.
It's interesting that this one has the international angle. And I
Yes.
think from the blurb I read, at first you're led to believe it's the child's mother
Yes.
that's brought her to the United States, but then it turns out to not even be her mother.
Right. It's her
So then,
aunt.
is there some question about what's happened to the mom? Or
Definitely. That's a major point too. And they're being pressured to stop that investigation. The mother was initially jailed for the hijab, how they wear their hair and things like that, the hijab. So she was taken to a morality sort of prison and never really seen again. Or was she? It's not quite what it seems to be. And it is a little confusing because of the names can be kind of similar in that culture. And sometimes I'd have to stop and think, who's telling the story now and what role does that person play? And then there's a cleric, Muslim cleric, that figures it. There's a lot of characters at times to keep straight, but if you keep going with it, it's really quite, it's a great read. And it kind of makes you think about like the Hague Convention, about how the international way of handling child custody situations. I really didn't know anything about that. That's central to this too. I didn't even realize that was a thing.
Oh,
It is a thing, because it's not uncommon to have non-custodial people leave the country, and then there's these custody issues and which law governs and who's got the right to the child. And of course, the kids are always in the middle, always.
right.
Yeah.
Oh,
And
it
this little
sounds
girl's
kind
real
of
sweet.
interesting.
It's good.
So it's a page turner.
I would absolutely call it a page turner. Yeah. Just like all of his Jack Switek. Jack Switek's super likable because you can relate. Like, he is really stuck. His wife is angry at him. Everybody's in danger. Does he drop a case? And most of the books I've read, he's being pressured to drop a case, but he really can't ethically drop this case because he has to do what's right. Man, it's it's hard to be Jack Switek. I'll tell you what, but he's very likable. Yeah, you root
This
for him too.
sounds like I can almost imagine reading it like before bed and like you
Yeah.
just can't stop, right? And all of a sudden it's like 3 a.m. and you're still turning
Yeah.
those pages.
Yeah, I mean, they're short-ish chapters, and you have just one more chapter, and then that turns into, yeah, as you suspect, yes. Yeah, it's very good. He's a great writer, I think. Yeah.
Okay, that's Grave Danger by James Grappando. Okay, what about The Last One at the Wedding
Okay, so
by Jason Rekelock?
this one just came out. Well, it's going on about a year now. The first book that I was aware of him writing was called Hidden Pictures. Lots of people liked Hidden Pictures. Here's the dumb thing I did about Hidden Pictures. Hidden Pictures is centered on a child who is drawing pictures to try to explain a crime, or like the child is going back in their mind and they know something and they're trying to express it by pictures to the people who see the pictures. Well, here's the dumb thing I did, Tina. I listened to the book. That was not very smart because I have not seen the pictures. The pictures I
Oh,
think are central. Yeah,
the book has pictures in it.
picture has the drawings that their child is doing. Now, if I would have read either large print or regular print, I would have seen the pictures. You kind of lose something in the storytelling when you're not seeing the pictures because people are like, it's so great, it's so great. And I'm like, okay, I mean, it's good enough. But then as I got to going through it, I'm like, I just went and got a copy of the book to like, well, if I had seen these all along, that might have been helpful.
But you wouldn't necessarily know. You don't expect a book like this to have pictures.
Yeah, it has like these kind of like disturbing stick drawings in and like angry, etchings and things like that. And but that was the Hidden Pictures. This is the second one. Actually, I have to tell you, he is actually a well-known publisher. He runs an independent publishing house that has published things like Pride and Prejudice and Zombies and Miss Peregrine's Home for Peculiar Children. He's actually more notable as a publisher. So he's just started writing. This is his third book. It's really pretty good. It's got a lot to do with it's a wedding that goes astray. The main character is Frank Zatowski. He is a UPS driver, super down to earth, has an estranged daughter. His wife has died. He's got an estranged daughter for many years. I want to like the daughter. As you go on, you're like, she's really kind of hard to like. She's not very nice, and he's wonderful. You root for Frank. He's got this sterling record, like million-mile driver, UPS, no accidents. You love him. He's like this working everyman, and she's kind of not very nice to him. She's got problems with the truth. She has been a problem child, whatever. She ends up taking up with this very wealthy young man, who's the young man himself and his father are big into the electric battery development. They're very, very up in the world of science. The daughter is working there too, becomes a very valued employee of this firm, ends up engaged to and planning a wedding to the son. So thus the wedding. Well, kind of last minute, she invites her dad. Like he's kind of a last minute addition, which is kind of not very nice,
So sad. Yeah.
It's really sad. It's really kind of like right there. I'm like, what is wrong with this girl? So he ends up going to this very Tony wedding. People are just, it's like they're pandering to him, because he's just like, oh, look at the nasty little working class man, And
so he hasn't met the family before the wedding?
He really hasn't. He's completely out of his league, completely out of his element. He is basically so Grady Hendrix, which is an author who's written some really well-known kind of horror suspense things, says, his quote about this is, and I love it, the ultimate middle-class dad battles the 1% for his daughter's soul in the best thriller I've read all year.
What?
I won't say a whole lot more, but like the daughter's soul is kind of in danger, this 1%, and they're beyond it. They reminded me of the people in God of the Woods, where they're this wealthy family and the laws don't apply to them and the rules don't apply and they just count more than the other people. And so, you're always rooting for Frank. You're always rooting for his daughter to kind of come back to the light. And her soul is kind of messed up, honestly. She's not really so nice.
That she won't be happy in this marriage, or that
when he does have a moment where he sees what's really going on here, and I won't say what that is, obviously, but he's really trying to reclaim her or stop her from making what he feels is a horrible mistake. She's not too open to listening to him. And, he really just wants what's best for her. He's kind of raised her as a single dad. He's a lot of pride in his background and what he's been able to do for her. And she's very bright. She's very accomplished. We won't necessarily talk about how she gets ahead, but her ethics are a little bit questionable.
So is this a thriller?
I would call it a thriller. Yeah. Okay. There's definitely an element of suspense, very much an element of suspense. There's financial kind of crime-ish things going on. Ooh, some of these people are not nice. Not nice.
And
No.
where's it set? It looks kind of like a Northwoods.
This is set like in, I believe, New Hampshire. The
Okay.
wedding is in New Hampshire. Yeah, and he lives on I believe it's Philadelphia. Yeah, I think he's in a Pennsylvania suburb of Philadelphia. Yeah, very working class, super likable man. And I listened to this one too. The man who reads is like, he sounds like you're kind of like working class, salt of the earth guy, and then contrast that with this very wealthy family who's, like I said, the rules don't apply. They do whatever they want. They pay to cover things up. They don't care who they hurt as long as they get what they want. And so it's got the mystery, which I love. It's also got a lot of ethical and moral implications. And it's, maybe, I don't know. I don't expect like the super, super ultra wealthy to read this book and go, oh, I'm not very nice, and change their ways. But, I'm just saying, it's kind of a commentary on.
Sometimes I like the
things.
inspiration of like the everyman, right?
Right,
Making
right.
the right choices, even
Exactly.
in difficult situations. It shows us
Exactly.
how we can also employ that if we're
Exactly.
faced with difficult situations, right?
Exactly,
It's
right.
that empathy we're talking about, putting yourself in someone else's shoes.
Exactly. Yeah, he's a good man. Frank is very, very easy to root for. He's also got a sister who's kind of his ally and helped raise the daughter. And she takes in a lot of foster kids. So there's this foster child who's really kind of charming and kind of cool too. There's a really heartwarming element that takes place as this goes on. I don't mean to make it sound all sinister and everything. There's a really human element that it prevails in the end, and it's really kind of sweet. So it packs a lot in there. And you know what? You can actually listen to this one if you want, because there's no pictures that you should be looking at. It doesn't matter. But if you
Did we never see the wedding dress? Oh my gosh.
We didn't ever see it. But if you ever do want to read Hidden Pictures, his first notable book, I would probably read it and not listen to it, because you're kind of missing something. I just wanted to throw that out there, because that's how silly I am sometimes when I do stuff. It's like, that doesn't make any sense that I didn't read a book where I would have seen the pictures.
But how would you know? Like when you started listening to the audiobook of Hidden Pictures, does it say in print there are photos that?
I don't think it says that anywhere. No, I just should have assumed. Well, come on, Tina, you're giving me too much credit. I should have really.
I wouldn't
realized.
have known, right? I recently read a book called The Couple in the Photo, but you never see any pictures in the book, right? So you don't know just because pictures is in the title that there'd be pictures.
Well, that's true. That's true. But it's the people who read it and loved it, I think their experience was enhanced by seeing the pictures. That would have been helpful. But I enjoyed it nonetheless. It was good. I might have enjoyed this one a little more though, because I love this main character so much, and his morals and his decency. Just basically decent man.
Yeah. Oh, I can't wait to check that one out. Okay, you've got one more. This one's called My Friends by Frederick Backman, and I'm intrigued by this concept.
Yeah. So this is the man called Uwe.
I love that
author.
book.
Yeah, this is his latest. This is really hot right now. This is really big. It's really good. It's really good. Yeah, there's a lot going on. A couple main characters, teenage friends, coming from a hardscrabble town. He never really says where this is. You get the sense it's European, but he doesn't really say where. They're all coming from difficult family situations, and they bond over their summer experiences. They're kind of underdog type of kids. One is a toughie, and one's like an artist but misunderstood. It's a really good book. I don't want to even say too much and ruin anything, but wow,
well, I know the blurb.
It's really good. Yeah.
I haven't read it yet, but what intrigued me is it says that based on this summer, someone else creates a painting of them on a dock.
Yes.
Hanging out, right?
Yeah. One of the characters, you mostly see the water appear, but again, you don't see the painting. That's in your mind, So there's this painting that becomes super, super world famous, worth unspeakable millions. And it starts with the auction for this painting. But it mostly, I guess, what you see, the way they portray it is you see the water. You have to look very closely to see a long pier, and at the end, some small figures sitting at the end of this pier. But once you see those figures and you're looking at this picture, I guess you can't look away because they're so captivating. Again, use your imagination. It's hard to believe that a painting of water and a pier and some kids at the end could be that captivating. But hey, maybe it is. I don't know. This person was one of the four friends. Those were his three friends on the pier. Ultimately, the person that painted it, and he apparently has gone on to be world-renowned. Very misunderstood, becomes very reclusive. Things of that nature, but just a good person with a huge heart. And they all these kids, as they grow through life, they're super charming. They're super, they're really engaging. really engaging. And then one of them meets this young girl who becomes probably the main character of the story, named Louisa. She's just aged out of foster care. She's really never had anybody care about her except for she develops a really nice and not a weird, not a creepy, but a really lovely friendship with one of these friends who's much her senior, but they meet in an interesting way. And then they take a journey back to the hometown where the friends were. They're not all alive anymore. 2 of them are and 2 aren't. But
And was that part of the mission? Somebody saw the painting and wanted to figure out who was represented?
I don't know so much about that. This young lady has an art interest in art, but she's never even had the money to do any painting because she's a foster child, just moving on place to place. She's at what she plans to do at this exhibit, which is actually an auction. She's going to deface not the painting, but write some things on the wall, spray paint some things on the wall around. She does not want to destroy the painting, as I take it. But she does have spray paint, so people start to panic that she's going to do something. But she wasn't meaning to do that, really. She wasn't. She's very respectful. She ends up with the painting by some means, and then they're trying to get back to the hometown of the artist with the painting, and to be sure that it falls into the right hands, because she ends up inheriting it. And I won't say too much, but it's gifted to her. She doesn't want to keep it. She really doesn't want to sell it and keep the money. She wants it to be appreciated by others. So she and one of these original 4 friends meet up, take a train journey. And yeah, the friend she meets up with is the most probably serious of that original bunch of 4. Very traditional, where the others weren't so much. But he doesn't know a thing about children. He's not great at relationships. He says, he hurts everybody. He doesn't know how to have a relationship. And she just won't let go. She's like a little bulldog. She's going with him, and she's going to get to the bottom of this. And she wants to get to that hometown and see what happens. She wants to meet some of these other people. She doesn't really know at that point who's alive and who isn't alive and how it's going to play out. But she's determined, and she just won't let him leave her. Once they get together, she won't let him leave her. So
and that's
really
been driven by the painting.
Yes.
That's what's driving her. Interesting.
Yeah.
I think it's a fascinating concept too, to think about every piece of art we see.
Yeah, there's a story.
There's a story.
There's always a story. So one of the lovely statements I like about this is it says, Louisa, the young lady, is proof that happy endings don't always take the form we expect. In this stunning testament to the transformative, timeless power of friendship and art. And I think I couldn't have said it better. It's you start to appreciate the art. There's a lot of people along the journey who appreciate art. There's art teachers, there's artists. It's an eclectic cast of characters of different ages, but the art is at the center. But boy, the friendship is there too. This relationship where you would do anything for this person, die for this person, defend them, fight for them physically and figuratively, and die for them.
Wow, this book is like the whole package.
Yeah, and this friendship is taking place during their 14th summer. So they're really pretty young kids, but again, they're kind of old souls forced into this relationship where they're kind of misfits, honestly. Their families aren't super functional, and they form their own kind of family. So they call it my friends, but it's almost more of a little family. And it's really pretty charming. It's got some heartbreak. It can be funny, it can be heartbreaking. It leaves you feeling pretty decent.
I'm really looking forward to reading it. I did read A Man Called Uwe, and
yes,
it was just this gentle, but complex story, and there was heartbreak, but there was all this lovely redemption and friendship, and it was such an enjoyable, beautiful read.
Yeah. This is similar, and he's actually Frederick Bachman's younger than I realized. I didn't realize till I looked back. He's only 44 years old. Currently, he was born in 1981.
In my mind's eye, he was like 72 or something.
I would have thought. I saw the picture. I'm like, I don't think he's 50. And then I look, he's only 44. He's written a decent amount of well-known novels already. He's becoming quite a force. And this one's good. Very, very good. Yeah.
Awesome. Laura, what great recommendations today. So we talked about My Friends by Frederick Bachman. We talked about The Last One at the Wedding by Jason Rekulak. We talked about James by Percival Everett, and In Stitches by Dr. Anthony Yone, and also Grave Danger by James Grappando. Thank you so much for joining me today and having this great discussion.
Thanks for giving me the chance to speak with you. It's always a joy.
Are you reading anything currently?
I am listening to a really good one that I want to talk about next month. And I haven't started reading anything yet. I have one. The next one I'm planning to read is Did you read American Dirt back in the day when it came
Oh my
out? This is
gosh.
this is the latest one by the author of American Dirt. That's going to be the next book I start, and I'm going to start tonight. But I'm listening to a
Oh,
really good one that was really well rated last year, and I'm hoping to be able to talk about next time. If it leads, it's going pretty well so far. If it continues, we'll be talking about it next time. So
okay. Oh,
yeah,
exciting.
yeah.
Well, my guest today, Laura Schreiner from MANITOWOC Public Library. I'm your host, Tina Prigge. Thank you so much for joining us for this episode of Coffee on the Coast, Book Banter. We'll see you next time, everyone.
Thank you, Tina.